I think this game has just proven that Jarrod Bowen should be on the plane to the World Cup, and he should not only be on the plane, that he should probably be starting for England at the World Cup. Haaland's the future for them. So they can't change Haaland for Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola needs to change for Erling Haaland.
Look at Walter Smith's side. The guy, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but he's a legend, an icon. He built probably one of the most faithful Rangers sides of the last 50 years. Do something he didn't do. He couldn't do, and I think it's a chance to cement yourself in history.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 20 of the Two Foot Attacker podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos, and yes, episode 20. We've hit, it's not double digits because we've been in double digits for a while, but we've hit 20. I've been doing this for 20 straight weeks. It's been a pleasure. So if I've entertained at least one person over the last 20 weeks, and that would be more than enough. So yeah, he's to 30, and then hopefully 50, and then hopefully 100 episodes down the line. But before we start, I hope you all had a good week. I hope the football treated you well. There's a lot to speak about based on what happened in the Premier League events of last night, so we'll touch on that. And obviously there was some transfer business that happened midweek, which happened just after I released the podcast for last week. So if it's old news now, I can't not speak about it. I'm just going to have to speak about it. I know it's a week old, but I think I won't be doing my due diligence if I don't speak about it. I know in the title it says that I will be joined, or that I should be joined by the one and only PommyInOZ, but that will be in the second half, last part of the podcast as we preview the Europa League final, because his boys Rangers got through against Frankfurt, so it was a good chat. So stick around for that, because that will be very insightful as you get a Rangers perspective on that game. And before we delve into the football, I just implore you all rather to subscribe on YouTube, give it a like. The goal is, and I put this around on the socials, maybe towards the back end of last week, I want to hit 100 subscribers on YouTube by June 7th. And June 7th is the Socceroos vs UAE. I want to hit 100 subscribers by that date. And we're currently on 74, I believe, by the time of recording, or at the time of recording even. So that'll be 26. So that's around about a subscriber a day, which, you know what? I back us to do it. A subscriber a day. So share it around, give it some love, create some fake accounts and subscribe to it. That works for me as well. But just on those fake accounts, just watch it, like it, comment on it as well. That would be greatly appreciated. But so there's the YouTube side of things. Obviously hit the post notification bell as well, so you don't miss an upload. What else is there? Oh yeah, the audio platforms, the original platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Give it a 5-star rating or a thumbs up, or whatever the rating system is on your respective platforms. Just give it the equivalent to a 5-star. It would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, there's obviously the socials as well. That's what I forgot. The socials, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Two Foot Attacker Podcast. On all of them, there is a link tree in the both Twitter and Instagram bios if you want to get all the Two Foot Attacker Podcast needs. Just click that button or click that link, and then you'll be taken to the hub for all TFT news. Now, enough of that. Let's move on to the football. And let's start. I was going to start with Erling Haaland, and that was going to be my plan up until about midnight or maybe 1 o'clock last night, when Manchester City have now maybe not fallen, but have faltered in their title race. It was obviously a 2-2 draw against West Ham, and now it sets up, presuming a Liverpool win against Southampton midweek, it sets up some sort of final day. And the equation for Liverpool, should they beat Southampton, and we're going to assume that they will, is they need City to drop points in any way, and they do come up against Steven Gerrard and Philippe Coutinho's Aston Villa in the last game of the season. So, I mean, there's this league and this season and this year of football has thrown up so many stories that, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Aston Villa to create something special. But the reason that we are in this predicament is because obviously West Ham pulled something out of the bag, and specifically or especially Jarrod Bowen. And I think this game has just proven that Jarrod Bowen should be on the plane to the World Cup, and he should not only be on the plane, that he should probably be starting for England at the World Cup, because he took a big game, he took a massive game for not only in the league context, but in West Ham season's context. He took that game by the scruff of the neck and got the point for West Ham. It was two brilliantly taken goals. The first one was class, the second one was prolific. Jarrod Bowen should be on the plane, and he should be on the plane. He should be starting for England in the World Cup. But knowing Gareth Southgate, he'll probably start Sterling and Grealish and then Sancho and all these guys that, based on pedigree, should probably be starting, but based on form, probably shouldn't be. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. That is months away now. But let's move back to Man City, and I feel like this was the game that everyone thought they will falter in. It was set up from the start to be a game, and it was obviously Jarrod Bowen's early goal and then his second just before half-time to set up a blockbuster second half. Jack Grealish deflected shot into a Vladimir Coufal own goal. Jack Grealish scored the first one from a deflection and then an own goal from Coufal to equalise with about half an hour to go, and it was squeaky bum time to put it into context, or to put it. I think those are the words to describe it beautifully for the last half an hour. And it was Riyad Mahrez who had the chance, and we saw a dramatic penalty shootout over the weekend at Wembley, and at the London Stadium there was a dramatic penalty which was saved by Fabianski in goal. It was written. It was poetry. It was poetic. It was idyllic. It was an idyllic day of football in terms of setting up what should be some sort of final day. And I said this, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Liverpool, because they just have no give. They're just so relentless, and I don't know why I have faith in them, because I shouldn't have faith in them, because obviously I'm a Chelsea supporter and the logic dictates and history dictates that I should lean towards Manchester City to win the league. But I can't help but get invested in this Liverpool team. I can't help but get invested in this squad, in the manager, in the everything that surrounds them. So I really am not surprised in the slightest that Liverpool are in this position, in terms of, you maybe saw in January, City were 12 points clear. It looked all but over, and I think I went on record plenty of times and said it's game over. But is it City's petulance? Is it Liverpool's just relentlessness? I don't know what it is, but the league has been blown wide open, and I really want Liverpool to win against Southampton, because this final day could be something else. So hopefully it's given to us. Hopefully the footballing gods can give us a repeat of, maybe not 2018-19, because that was a pretty boring last day. City won comfortably, but maybe a Liverpool player can put themselves into Liverpool folklore, just like Sergio Aguero did all those years ago. Speaking of Sergio Aguero, that statue looks, with all due respect, fucking shit. It looks like Toni Kroos. It literally just looks like Toni Kroos. But it's Man City at the end of the day, so we can't expect a whole lot from them. But no, I do expect both teams to, realistically, both teams should win their remaining games. I know, obviously, Man City versus Aston Villa, Liverpool versus Southampton, and Newcastle, Wolves. So they go to Southampton and they should win that, and then they host the Wolves. They should win that, and then Man City obviously versus Aston Villa. Versus Aston Villa at home. So they should win. Both teams should win those remaining games, but I feel like there's one more twist in the tail. This story isn't written just yet. There's something left to play, and something's going to happen over the weekend. Something's happening. I can feel it, and I don't know which way it's going to go. I don't know whether it's going to be a Philip Coutinho masterclass or a Steven Gerrard masterclass, or it's going to be a Wolves upset to break Liverpool hearts. But something's going to happen, and it will be a fitting end to a fantastic season. And moving on from this season to next season, but staying with Manchester City, it is the topic that covered or that blinded all football media last week. As we spoke about a little bit before, Erling Haaland to Man City is confirmed. And before I touch on everything regarding like average positions and stats and all that nerdy stuff, which I'll get into, don't worry. I just want to give my overall thoughts on it. This could go either one of two ways for me. And either we're going to see... So the first option and the option which most people are fearing is that Man City are going to run away with the league for the next 10 years and it's going to be a no contest pretty much. Or there's going to be this adjusting period and there's going to be this period of adapting to what Erling Haaland offers, because Erling Haaland is set. Erling Haaland cannot adapt to Manchester City because he's a set, like what he's good at, that it's set in stone. He's a prolific, powerful attacking, like a powerful striker, right? He's not going to turn into someone that can be a false nine and drop in the hole and start dictating tempo from the attacking third. He's not going to be that because he's never been that. What he is like I said, a ready-made, prolific goal scorer that uses his physical prowess to bully defences. And Pep's going to have to adapt to getting the best out of him because he's not going to fit into their system straight away. He's not going to fit into their system as it is or as it stands. So there's going to be that period of adjusting. And I want to bring up... Now let's get into the nerdy stuff. And I want to bring up, as I scoot to this side, and apologies for audio listeners, just go on YouTube and watch it, and then you'll figure out what I'm speaking about. But this is Haaland's heat map this season. So obviously credit to SofaScores for this. But you can see there, it's a lot in the penalty area. So you have this massive red spot around the penalty, this massive like red mark around the penalty spot, which has that emphasis of he's playing on the last line. He doesn't like to drop deep as often as perhaps other number 9s in various systems. He likes to play facing to goal. So he likes to run towards the goal and use his power, use his physical prowess to get in front of the defender and score goals and create chances that way. And you see there that red also transcends just outside the box to almost like the zone 14. Now, if you don't know what the zone 14 is pretty much that quadrant, not quadrant, but that bit just outside the D, right? Just outside the penalty area. So what that shows for me as well, and then you can see it a little bit on the right-hand side of it as well, is that he is occupying these spaces to then charge into the box and to then use his, like I said, his power to get into the box, beat that man, and then get the score goals that way. Whereas City often employ a system which is very fluid and it's very intricate. So players switch positions left, right, and centre. It's almost water torture the way that they beat teams. They just pass and rotation. Haaland's not going to offer that. Haaland is a number 9 and he won't waver from that. And if he tries to, he'll just hinder his performance and the performance of the rest of the team. His way of playing needs to be the priority. He can't adapt to what Man City are doing currently because he's too good for that. Now, if we just move back and then move to his stats. Oh, there we are. Move to his stats. And again, FBref, the credit for their stats, right? But you can see that his attacking numbers are ridiculous. 0.82 non-penalty goals per 90, 3.57 shots per 90, both ranking in the 98th and 91st percentile respectively. He's got 0.28 expected assists and 0.345 actual assists. We all know that. That's great. That's fine. We all know he's one of the best goal scorers on planet Earth at the moment. That's no news to everyone. However, I want to focus down to a couple of other stats. Now, Specifically what I'm looking at is what he can offer in an attacking, in a creative standpoint, because City relies so much on everyone to create for everyone. And I'm just going to emphasize through some of these stats that this potentially won't work, because we see there. I know he has high expected assists, but his progressive passes aren't great. His pass completion isn't great, and his dribbles completed aren't great either. Now, what this shows is that Haaland relies on two things to score goals, which I know is, again, not news to anyone, but it's his off the ball movement, because you can see he's got 7.45 touches in the attacking penalty area, which shows that he can get to places where defenders can't, and he can use his football IQ to get ahead of defenders and be that yard, that metre ahead, right? So he uses football IQ to get into position. He uses off the ball movement, and like we said, he's finishing, right? He's just ruthless. However, with that saying, what City need and what City's game plan is emphasised around is creativity everywhere. I mean, you look at their whole front six is creative, and their fullbacks. They've basically only got three players who aren't creative. Like the defensive midfielder, the two centre halves. I mean, even Ederson is like the first line of attack, right? Haaland isn't creative. He's just a ruthless finisher. And we saw how Pep kind of phased out Sergio Aguero. I know that's harsh to say, but Sergio Aguero the system wasn't built around Aguero. I'm worried about what this system's going to be like around Erling Haaland, because he isn't a Pep Guardiola number 9. He isn't what Pep Guardiola needs from a number 9. I do think this signing has been made to kind of protect the future of the next manager. I do think that's a I've just deleted myself there. A facet of why this signing has been made. But when you look at Pep Guardiola's system, you look at passing, and we just saw his passing stats there aren't great. And you also look at pressures. And I know Pep Guardiola's team and Man City aren't as pressure heavy as like a Liverpool are, right? But you look at his pressure numbers. He has 12.86 pressures per 90, which ranks in the 24th percentile, so not great at all. And he only has 4 successful pressures, which is ranked in the 49th percentile. And granted, that does come to a successful pressure percentage of 3.1 or 31.1%, which is in the top 7% of all Europe's top 5 leagues in terms of strikers. But he isn't a pressing number 9, and the stats prove that. He doesn't offer that relentless off the ball, out of possession pressing that someone like a Sterling or a Foden or a Bernardo Silva offers. He's a very traditional number 9. He's not a target man, so Man City fans, don't expect you to be able to play balls into him and then he can ping them off. He's not a target man. He's not a person that will win aerial contests. He's not going to be he's not going to be in the box winning headers left, right and centre. Erling Haaland's way of playing is the exact opposite, and it's really hard to explain because he's so good, so he's obviously going to work. Like, Erling Haaland is obviously going to work at Manchester City. That goes without saying. But Erling Haaland's natural way of playing is the antithesis of Manchester City's Pep Guardiola way of playing. Because Pep Guardiola's way of playing, as I said, has been heavily around possession, third-man runs, water torture style of play, which is pass, movement. Haaland is a traditional number 9. He'll be in the box. He likes to use his power to run towards the goal. Doesn't really like playing with his back towards goal. So it's going to be interesting to see how Haaland adapts to Man City, or how Man City adapts to Erling Haaland. Because Haaland's the future for them. So they can't change Haaland for Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola needs to change for Erling Haaland, because he's just that good. And he's that prolific in what he does. It's going to be interesting to see, because obviously he's elite. And obviously it's going to take some sort of stuff up for Man City to not get at least 30 goals every season from Erling Haaland. But it's going to be one to watch, because this isn't as open and shut as some people think it will be. Erling Haaland has a chance to perhaps there's a chance that Erling Haaland doesn't live up to expectations. I don't think that will happen, but there is a big chance that he will. I don't think it happened. I don't think it will happen for multiple reasons. I do think Pep Guardiola is smart enough and is good enough to change the way he plays to suit Erling Haaland, and I think the players around him will cater to him. But I mean, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see because this isn't as open as shut. It's not as black and white as people think. It's not as easy as Pep Guardiola gets Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland scores 50 goals a year. Man City win every trophy known to man for the next decade. It's going to take time to adapt. It's going to take the right adaptation to be made because, like I said, I don't think Erling Haaland needs to change for Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola needs to change for Erling Haaland. That's just how it works. Because Haaland is made. He's ready made. I know he's still 21, I think, or he's still young, but he's made. He's set in stone. This is what he is. Pep has the ability to adapt and to change his systems and to be more fluid in the way that he coaches his team. So my prediction is that Haaland doesn't have the start that people think he will because it's going to take time to adapt. But I do think by the end of next season, we're going to see Haaland be the prolific number 9 that we saw at Dortmund, presuming that he stays fit, obviously, because that's obviously the big caveat to all of this. But I think that's enough Haaland chat. I think we've been on for 10 minutes, so that'll be a good clip for the YouTube channel as well. And also, just another thing is that, just another thing because I've seen it on my run sheet. If you look at Dortmund's style of playing, very different to Man City's. Very different to Man City's. City on average have 68% possession per game. Dortmund have 59%. I know that's still more than that's above 50% possession, so they'll have the ball more often than not. But Dortmund do play more on the counter attack. They do play more high tempo, aggressive football. City do like to pass, movement, rotation, which doesn't really suit for Haaland. But I mean, I'm no coach, so I'm no Pep Guardiola. So it'll be interesting to see that. Now let's move on to a game that happened over the weekend, which I'm not going to speak about because it's going to make me really, really, really angry. It was the FA Cup Final, of course. And I'm not even going to speak about the game because the game was pretty boring. Penalty shootouts. It's a cruel game. Cruel game. Very cruel game. And it is what it is. I mean, Mason Mount, my boy Mason Mount missing a penalty, and it sucked. It really, really sucked watching that game. And it is what it is. We can't change it. But credit to Liverpool, they deserved the win. Probably in 90 minutes, I'll give them that. They did deserve the trophy. I feel like Chelsea could have done a bit better in normal time. I do think that some of the penalties. I mean, you can't really judge on penalties because of the nature of it, but yeah, it really, really was disheartening seeing that. But it is what it is. Can't change it. You can't change it. You can only ponder at what could have happened. Thomas Tuchel's substitutions really just staggered me. Why wasn't Timo Werner playing at all? I feel like the Liverpool high line was the catalyst for Timo Werner to have success in this game. What was with bringing on Loftus-Cheek for 10 minutes and then taking him off? Was it just to get Loftus-Cheek some Instagram photos? Probably. But yeah, there was a lot that annoyed me about this game, but it is what it is. Credit to Liverpool. The quadruple's still well and truly on, as we've seen. And yeah, maybe they can go 3 from 3 on penalties in cup competitions this season. Imagine, maybe Real Madrid and Liverpool will go to pens. Who knows? But enough of that because, like I said, I really don't want to speak about it. It's going to really get on my nerves. But credit to Liverpool. Good on them. They won again. What a surprise. And also, people getting annoyed that they booed the national anthem and people booed... Actually, no. People getting annoyed that Liverpool fans booed the English national anthem. Do your research before you make comments like that. That's all I'm going to say. Because it's well and truly justified for what they did. So that's all I'm going to say. And as a Chelsea supporter, you know that I'm not saying this for any biased reason. They booed the national anthem for a reason. Do your research. Anything else about the game? I think Luis Diaz had I feel like he exploited Chalobah and that side. I feel like that was Liverpool's avenue for success for most of the game. I think Jorginho played very well. Didn't do his hop, skip, and a jump for the penalty, which I didn't think he would do. I did think he'd just step up and whack it, which he did. No Kepa for the penalties. I was shocked by that. I actually thought that Tuchel was gonna make that change. He didn't. And I mean, it worked out. Mendy did save a pen, so there you go. But it is what it is. Congrats, Liverpool. You broke my heart once again. So maybe I do want City to win the league. Who knows? Let's move on and let's transition now to a Europa League final preview. And you will now be joined by past Ari and past PommyInOZ, speaking about the Europa League final. So you're going to see me in a different hoodie in about 5 seconds. So yes, let's go to that. Okay, so now we're moving on to the preview of the Europa League final. And I'm joined by the resident Rangers fan in my life or in Australian YouTube. It's Pom. Now, firstly, before we get into the preview, how are you feeling? How are you? How are the emotions a week out from the big game?
Super excited. I mean, obviously the league title now officially gone. So we've got the Scottish Cup and we've got this. But I mean, winning in Europe for a club in Scotland is huge. So this is everything we've ever dreamed of. I think I'm super excited, and Frankfurt is probably the favoured draw as well. It's the team that when I think the draws came out, I was looking at Frankfurt and West Ham as the two teams I'd hope you'd get in the final if you could get through to it. So excited. I think we match up well, and hopefully we'll bring it home.
Yeah, so obviously the last time you were in a major European final was 2008. Obviously it didn't end well for Rangers that day. How are the emotions from then compared to now? Is there a difference? Is it similar? What's the go there?
I think it's similar. I think no one gave us Walter Smith's 08 side was a very good side as well. It played very good football. Walter Smith, obviously a legend of the Rangers fan base. Zenit I think Zenit though were a tougher ask. Looking back, I remember going to the game and I remember that there was a lot of young players in the Zenit side. Arshavin, Arsenal legend, as you know, the slayer of Liverpool.
Yes.
He was in that. There was a lot of players in the Zenit side that were like touted for big European moves. So it was always a tough ask. I think this one here is similar nerves, but I think it's one that you'll fancy yourselves. I mean, UK has a history of beating the Germans in neutral soil in Europe, so we should be all right.
There you go. So let's just go back to the start of the season. What was the expectations, maybe not in the league, but in Europe? What were the expectations pre-season about this competition?
Well, I think obviously priority is to try and get into the Champions League, and obviously we ended up in the Europa after going out. So you want to go as deep as you can. I think quarterfinals, maybe as a fan it might change, but for me, like getting into the quarters, I think was priority number one, and then you back yourself after that. I think Rangers you've got to come to Ibrox in these two-legged affairs, and I think Ibrox has an uncanny knack of making good teams find it tough. A lot of the ex-players, Gary Neville talked about Ibrox as one of the toughest games he played at. It's got an atmosphere as well. So I think because you've got them two-legged affairs, you always back yourself. But I think quarters is the minimum expectation. You want to put a good show and you don't want to go out. But as the draw opened up, I think from the quarterfinals, I was saying finals win this thing because every side started losing. Do you know what I mean? And Barcelona, for some reason, looked vulnerable the leg before they went out. And once Barca went out, I think it was anyone's, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I agree because I saw Barcelona obviously falling into the Europa League. I thought, all right, who's going to beat them? And then obviously the team you are versing Frankfurt did in fact beat them over two legs. But you spoke about the knockout draw and you spoke about the nature of that. What has been your highlight of the knockout draw? What game? I think I'd have a good idea considering the last or the semi-final. But what was the highlight of the knockout draw so far for you?
I think John Lundstrom's goal last week, that got me up and about. I tell you, that got me up and about. And especially it being Lundstrom, who's become like a little bit of a Folktown hero this season for us. He has an uncanny knack of playing that old school 90s Rangers way of being a tough tackling player. And one thing that Lundstrom's done under GVB as well, Bronkhorst, is we're very fluid in our formation, where Steven Gerrard was very rigid, flat back four. It stayed that way all the time. GVB's got a more European approach where we're very fluid in our tactical thing. And last week you saw it big style that Lundstrom came from the midfield and became part of a back three. And he let Barisic and Taverner play more as an attacking wing back. And that, where Lundstrom showing that and getting that goal, I thought he deserved it, because the first leg, I thought we could have lost by more if it wasn't for him. So for him to actually get the winner effectively was a great moment. And the last 5 minutes as well, it was one-way traffic. I don't know if anyone watched it, but Rangers were under the cosh. That last 10 seconds as well, where James Taverner from nowhere lunges in for a tackle, misses everything. And you're like, oh no, and we get it cleared. It was a proper European affair. And now obviously we go to that one leg, one knockout approach in a neutral venue. So exciting times ahead. Hopefully this will be my highlight.
Yes, well, hopefully for everyone it will be. Now, let's go to the final. Let's give it a pretty in-depth preview. So for those who haven't watched Rangers so far this season, I know you spoke about the fluid, like, tactical approach to the game. How would you describe the way that your side plays in possession, and what are your avenues for success in every game?
Well, I think that we've probably got one of the top three right backs in world football in James Tavernier. I mean, the guy is the leading scorer in Europa, free kick specialist, our mercurial captain, our hero. What you'll notice with Giovanni's side is they're very attacking, they're very direct. We're totally different to the Gerrard Rangers. It's taken a while to break in. I think we're more defensively sound, but I think one thing that's amazing about us is our ability to counter-attack from next to nothing. We're very good at soaking up pressure and hitting them with width and being very direct as well. I did read a stat the other day that we've actually doubled our long ball passes under GVB in the last year over Gerrard, and you do notice that overlap from Tav and Barisic is massive down them flanks. So that's where we look to go. Obviously, we are missing, though, our legend that is Morales out for the season. But genuinely, that is the plan, get the ball and try and feed him in. So you'll be looking at a lot of overlap. And I think the battle between Taverner and Kostic is going to be the best battle here, because they run everything through him. Just so happens to coincide with Tab's flank as well. So should be a great battle, that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you spoke about Morales. I know, obviously, Ines Hadji as well out for the season with a knee injury. Has those injuries, I know that they aren't recent injuries, but have those put a little bit of doubt in your mind, or maybe thinking if we have those two players, we'd have more of a chance? Or is it, this is the squad we've got, this is the chance we've got, and let's just go for it?
Not really, no, because I think Scotty Wright, who we brought in, he plays that on the right-hand side. And what you've noticed with him is he's kind of playing the Giannis Hadji type role. And he's become like a real old school number 8, box-to-box midfielder, which allows Tav to overlap. It's allowed Ramsey, when he's played, Aribo as well, to work off him. And he kind of fills that hole. It's very similar to the Gary Neville Beckham type role that you used to see, where Neville did the overlapping and Beckham kind of cut inside and then played the long ball there. So I think it's made us more adaptive. I do think Giannis is probably better at that role, but it's nice to see that role has kind of come out of a necessity, where Giannis is an attacking player himself. Scotty Wright has played that more defensive right wing, cutting inside and allowing Tav to be really expressive, which makes us more dangerous. Obviously, Morales is brilliant, though. Alfredo is head and shoulders the best striker at the club. Kent's done well, though, playing that role, playing a bit more centrally. The legend that is as well, Fashion Sakala, you'll see him at some point in this game. He's done well as well. We do miss him, but I still think we've got enough to hurt these teams.
Yeah. So let's move across to your opponents, Frankfurt. Now, there's obviously, I know a lot of people probably won't know a lot about them because obviously they play in Germany and they're not the Dortmunds or the Bayern Munichs about them, or in Germany rather. What if have you seen a lot of Frankfurt's maybe Europa League campaign so far? What are your thoughts on them?
I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to opposition. But yeah, I have seen them. I mean, they are a very good side. I mean, you've got Sal there. I mean, people who play FIFA will actually know the Frankfurt side pretty well because I think every special German card in the game that is overpowered is a Frankfurt player. But Sal is their breaker up of play. He's kind of like an Audi Vieira, really, for them. He's been brilliant in the Europa, particularly against Barca. He really stopped that tick-attack as Xavi type football. He's a breaker up of play. I mean, Kostic, we've touched on him. Sensational. I think he will be at a big European club next year. He's a very good footballer. Kamada as well, that Asian sensation up forward. He's got frightening pace. He can score at will. And Kevin Trapp in goal as well. He ain't so bad. But I mean, they've got a lot of pace in this side. They're a strong, pacey side. To beat Barcelona, you've got to be pretty good. So it's interesting because we're similar styles. We're counter-attacking football. So it's going to be really an opportunity for both sides to showcase a bit more front foot football as opposed to being the underdogs. I think this is a fairly evenly matched final. I think both sides will fancy it.
Yeah, and I think the main, what you just touched on, is both team style of play. And we notoriously see some finals be very cagey, be very timid, especially early on, because you're still trying to figure each other out. How do you see this going in terms of maybe the first 20 minutes? Do you reckon either team will come out of the blocks like on the front foot, high tempo, or do you think it will be more cagey, timid, just trying to work each other out? How do you think it'll pan out?
I think GVB has put this down as priority number one. I think the title will have been very high up because he's a former Rangers player, but there's always been a part of me since we lost the lead, they got that 6-point gap, that I reckon GVB now is solely focused on this. And I think we'll come out hard. I really do, because I think that the worst thing that's happened for Frankfurt is we lost the title this week. So there's literally now, really, we've got 2 games left. We've got this in the Scottish Cup Final 4 days after the game. So for me, I think we'll come out hard. I think we'll look to try and impact them early. But the wonderful thing about our side is that we score late goals. There's a lot of running in this side. But I do think we'll take it to Frankfurt. I don't think Frankfurt will come out as hard as us. I do think the opening 10 minutes, though, I think you'll see Rangers looking to get it to Tav, get it into Barisic and really press them hard and try and get the early one.
Yeah, I think probably the main reason why that start of the game is so important is because of how teams finish the game. Obviously, like you said, with your tie against Leipzig, it was very intense all the way to the final whistle, whereas Frankfurt, through Aaron Cresswell's petulance here, were able to put the foot off the gas a little bit. Do you think that could play a part? Do you reckon the fact that you had to go all the way to the end, full tempo, playing your heart out, whereas Frankfurt were able to just put the foot off the gas a little bit and really just compose themselves and let the moment sink in? Do you reckon the nature of the 2 semi-finals will play a factor coming into next week?
I think it will do. I think that for us, though, I think Leipzig aren't too dissimilar to Frankfurt in the terms of that they do play traditional German football, kind of like Frankfurt do. So I think for us, we got a good preparation fight. I don't think Frankfurt are as good as them. So I think for us, it was probably a good test because we've had to work for it. I don't think Frankfurt have been really tested, no disrespect to West Ham since the Barca game. I think that they've had quite an easy run and not had to it. So I think for both of them, we've both got the same type of thing on the line. Nothing really happening in our domestic league. This is kind of the show pace. But I think we're both pretty rested. Do you know what I mean? We played quite early this week, so we'll be rested. And I do think GVB, like I say, primary focus has been this competition for a while, I think. So I think this is going to be the big last hurrah. And I think for a lot of players, there's rumours that Goldson's going at the end of the year. that Jack's going. There's a few players on that Rangers that are evidently on the conveyor belt looking for bigger jobs, and GVB wanting to make his own mark. I think it might be the final hurrah, particularly for McGregor as well in goal. That guy is one of the few players on this pitch older than me.
There you go. With this final, obviously, there's massive stakes. Would you take too much solace, or maybe not solace, but would the outcome of the game, a win or a loss, affect this side and maybe the morale and the motivations of this side going into next season? Or are you not even thinking about next season just yet? But do you feel that a win could define Rangers for the next 5-10 years, whereas a loss could have that very detrimental and like demoralising feeling about it? Or is next season in the back of your mind that you just focused on next week?
Well, I mean, I think whenever we're in a privileged position in Scotland that when Rangers or Celtic win, it motivates the other one, because there's nothing we hate more than them with us winning anything. So I think the motivation is already there. So I think win, lose or draw, I think for us, the motivation is already there. We've got to get that title back and bring it back home. We can't have them getting excited. So I think the window here will be a huge catalyst for next year, because I think that this puts us above Celtic in the terms of we can do it in Europe as well. We are one of the better teams in Europe. Obviously, it guarantees you Champions League football as well. So, I mean, that's a big thing for us as well, that we'll get to do that as well. So I think it's a big motivator. I don't think it will have any bearing on the title next year, because I think that GVB will want that title back, no doubt, as a Rangers boy himself. But I think it could be it's a huge thing as well for the transfers. I think when you win in Europe, it just makes that a bit more of an attractive quality. We've attracted some big names, Aaron Ramsey being one of them. There's rumours that we're sniffing around Gareth Bale. I think you win a Europa and there's golf courses in Scotland.
There you go.
Gareth Bale's in.
There you go. No brainer. So let's fast forward to next week. What would be your team talk? What would be the main message just before the lads go out to battle? What would be your "This is Sparta" type speech to them? What would be the main message?
Well, I think look at Walter Smith's side. The guy, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but he's a legend, an icon. He built probably one of the most faithful Rangers sides of the last 50 years. Do something he didn't do. He couldn't do. And I think it's a chance to cement yourself in history. It's a big thing. When was the last time a Scottish team won in Europe? The 60s. I think it was the Scum in the European Champions League, or the European Cup as it was then. I think that's the thing. It's the chance. These names will be cemented forever. I think the title last year was a huge milestone, but I think this is a milestone that is huge. It is beyond that, and I think it's to right the wrongs. I think Walter Smith that's probably his one blot on his career. He didn't get that win. I think this is a chance here for the boys to really cement themselves in the history of football.
There you go. Now, I hesitate to ask, but your prediction for next week? I know this could change because we are recording this on the 13th, so Friday. So nearly 7 days out from the actual fact. But what's your predictions? What do you thinking the result could be?
3-1 Rangers.
Goal scorers?
Tav 2. I reckon Kent.
There you go. I would love to say go to the Peds. Just to see,
I wouldn't.
I would. Maybe not for your sake, but I feel like it'd be good entertainment. Maybe the Scottish can do what the English can't on bends against the Germans.
You'd fancy us with penalties. I think half of our team is a specialist penalty taker, so
there you go. So maybe
penalties would be all right. But I think we'll get the job done in normal time, and we'll be back at Ibrox by midnight.
Hopefully. Is that? Maybe in your thought process behind that prediction, do you think a goal will come early for what you said, that you'll come out of the blocks quickly, you'll come out high tempo, high octane style of play? Do you reckon you could get one within the first 20, first 10?
Yeah, I mean, Tav is, like I say, under the system, you've started to see Tav get into the final third just a ridiculous amount, and he opened the scoring in the semi as well, just bursted forward from nowhere and just happened to be far post and tapping. So I can see an early goal, because I think that's one thing I've noticed in Europe. We have come out high intensity, trying to get it trying to put a statement, get them on the back burner and let them know we can play. So I think there will be an early goal, and then I'd imagine it will open up at half time. And I think when games open up, you start with Leipzig as well. Rangers play their best football. So I'm excited, but I think there'll be a few goals in this one. I think both sides are capable of breaking the other one down and playing positive football.
There you go. So that's the preview from the resident Rangers fan on Australian YouTube anyway. But so for those who don't know who you are, I don't know why you wouldn't, but PommyInOZ on YouTube, road to 3K. Let's get him there. So any help for him would be greatly appreciated. Pommy, mate, thank you very much for joining me.
My pleasure. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate. Go Rangers. Come on.
Go Rangers. Go on. Mondagers.
There you go. That was the Europa League final preview with PommyInOZ. As I said in that preview, check him out. He does some really good stuff about the round ball and about the egg-shaped ball that is AFL football. So check him out. The links will be in the description as always. Now let's move on and let's end this episode with who went into footed. Now for those who don't know, this is the segment. You call it that? Yeah, let's call it a segment. Let's call it the only actual structured, featured thing on this podcast, where I basically just go through each week and find out what player, club, organisation, anyone in football did something daft. And just like last week with Luke Ayling, this one will both be a metaphorical and literal who went into footed, because they're both two Everton players, Jarrod Bowen and Salomon Rondon, getting sent off in a must-win game for the Toffees. I know Branthwaite didn't go into footed, and whereas Rondon definitely did. It's just dumb, just idiotic stuff. Why? One of the biggest games of your season, and you get two players sent off. I mean, poor Frank Lampard, he can't really do a lot about it. It's just, yeah, it's like, why? And if Everton go down, which they've got Palace and Arsenal, and Burnley have Villa and Newcastle, and Leeds have Brentford. So it's going to be one battle to see who goes down. I mean, Southampton can also go down. I doubt they will, but they won't. But they're still technically in for a shout. But it will be very interesting to see who goes down. I do think it will still be Everton. I don't know, or I really don't want him to, because I love Frank Lampard, as I've said countless times in countless episodes, but I just don't have trust. I can't trust them yet. Until I can earn their trust, I don't think they'll stay up. But let's move on to the preview of the week. We obviously have the A-League. Oh, I forgot to speak about the A-League semi-finals. Also, who went into footed? Channel 10. You're a joke. You're a disgrace. You're an absolute disgrace. For those who don't know, for those who are watching overseas, basically, Channel 10 is one of our big, not free-to-air channels. So it's like if you have a TV and a cable, you can watch it, right? They showed the A-League games over the weekend, so our playoffs to determine who wins the league. And they decided to show an ad during the game twice and missed 2 goals, I believe. So, I mean, you went into footed, Channel 10. You're just fucking unbelievable. But yeah, obviously Brisbane were all beat. Western Sydney 3-1. No, that was in the cup. Don't worry about that. Western Sydney beat Wellington 1-0, and Adelaide beat Central Coast 3-1. So yes. So yeah, let's move on to the preview of the week. Obviously, we got Newcastle versus Arsenal coming in tomorrow morning. Big game for the top 4. I do think Arsenal will win that. We've also got Western United versus Melbourne Victory in the first leg of the semis. I do think Victory will win that. Win that tie. I do think it'll be 1-0 in the first leg and 2-1 in the second leg. Southampton, Liverpool. I think Liverpool will win that. Adelaide United versus Melbourne City. I do think it'll be the same. City will win over 2 legs. I think it'll be 1-0. I reckon it'll be 2-0 both legs to Melbourne City. Obviously, the Europa League final, which we spoke about, which I gave my preview there. Some games over the weekend happening midweek, and then the big games, the big final day of the season for both Italy and England. I think Italy. I do think AC Milan will win the league. They've got Sassuolo away. I do think they'll get it. They'll do enough to win the league from there. Obviously, all they need to do is win, I believe, or even a draw. No, they just need a win, and I do think they will. And last day of the Prem, I think, let's go from bottom to top. I think Everton will go down. I think the top four, or I think Man United will get conference. I think West Ham and Tottenham will get Europa League. I think Arsenal will finish fourth. Chelsea will finish third, obviously. And Liverpool will win the league. Something's happening here. And then, we don't speak until then. And I actually don't know what I'm going to do for... Obviously, we have the Champions League final the week after, so we'll do an in-depth preview next week of the Champions League final. And then, God knows what I'll be doing for the off-season. I'm still thinking about that, so once I know, I'll let you guys know. But that's enough. Pretty long-ish episode today. Thank you all very much for watching. Enjoy the football. Let me know your predictions in the comments below for the end of the season. Who's going to win the league? Who's going down? And who gets each respective European place? Because everything's still to play for. Obviously, give me your predictions about the Europa League final as well. Stay well, stay safe, enjoy the football. See you guys next episode. See you guys. Goodbye.